Welcome to the Frank Marketing Podcast, where honest conversations, tested tactics, and no-nonsense marketing come together.
Hi everyone, my name's Zoe and I'm the SEO expert at Frank, and I'm joined here today as always with Lee Butchery, who is the PPC expert at Frank, and this is our podcast, the Frank Marketing Podcast. Today we're talking all about Schema. We are a big fan of it here. We use Schema on all of our websites without exception, and we're sharing what it is, why it matters, kind of getting into some myths about how it works for AI search, and then later sharing so Schema is a really big kind of, there's so much you can do with it, but we're going to share some of the essentials that we put onto every single one of our websites. So if you're listening, don't really understand Schema, you are going to go away from this podcast with something very actionable, because some of the recommendations we're going to make at the end will certainly be applicable to your website. You'll be able to add them for sure. Before we get into that, we always do a little round to see what's been going on in work and life. So Lee, let us know, what have you been up to and how's work going?
Yeah, work is going well. It's still very busy, although I feel like this time of year it does quieten down for a lot of clients with the summer holidays coming up, people going away and stuff. But that's really busy. I'm really busy. I'm trying to renovate at the moment. The bathroom it's one of the biggest projects I've ever done, which is nerve-wracking because I have no experience, so I've obviously had to get someone in, but just even ordering stuff, there's so many. Who knew there were so many variations of taps? Also, who knew that taps didn't come with bathrooms, like baths when you buy a bath or a basin?
You get to customize it.
Oh, yeah, but the taps are nearly as expensive as the suite. But the ordering tiles, it's just been, I don't know. I feel a bit out of my depth, but everything's ordered now after much help from the plumber.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
So yeah, that's that. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's a lot when you do anything for the first time. Yeah, kind of the same actually. So work, we have we Lee and I have loads of mutual clients, not loads actually. We have a few mutual clients, and we have a couple independently as well. And I had a client who I've been working with independently for about maybe 2 years, and they moved on. So that left us with a client slot to fill, but we kind of enjoyed a quiet, Stu and I enjoyed a quieter month or two. And last month we got a new client, which is really nice. So we've kind of replaced them. So we're back to being really comfortably full on retainers, back to capacity. And yeah, so work's going really well in that way. Still got time for power hours and audits here and there, but yeah, work's flowing again. Exactly the same story as you with the renovation. So just before we pressed pause on this, I said to Lee, I might have to go, Lee, because I've got some beds being delivered and I've got the carpenters coming. So, well, that's fine. I might also have to go because I'm getting my bathroom delivered. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to just kind of one hit this podcast, but maybe that we have to pause and come back to it, but that's fine, isn't it? All good.
Yeah, it feels a bit overwhelming, but in a good way.
Yeah, it'll be a lovely project for you as well when that's done.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, actually, we'll be meeting each other. We've got a charity event to go to, and we're actually offering some of our services out as a raffle donation, I guess, which would be really exciting. It's a good networking event.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how people respond to that. If it seems like something they're oh, I'd love that.
Or they just don't. They've just got it because it's in the raffle. It's a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? Because not everyone there has a business. I would like to think probably around 60% of people there do. So they would maybe be interested in it, especially if they've got an online presence. So fingers crossed.
I feel like everyone knows someone as well. Even if it's oh, my son wants to be a website designer. I don't know. He wants someone to help him. Someone will know someone. Is it getting raffled or auctioned? Or both, or one of either?
I think it'll be an auction. It depends on the prizes she's got given, really.
My fear is that it just goes for a $5.
It won't. She'll have to put a minimum on it because we're offering quite a bit of work.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, the minimum makes it feel a bit better. Yeah, because it is loads of work, and I want it to go to someone who wants it, because we'll be on that for a week between us.
Yeah. But it's good to give back. We'll meet some clients to go in there as well. I think Host Pantry will be there. I'm pretty certain Hubka are going to be there as well. So it'll be interesting to see those again. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that will be nice to see them.
They were asking about you the other day, actually. They're asking how you're getting on.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, be good time. Right then, let's get into Schema. To read a little overview really about what Schema is, why it's important in this day and age. So this is actually come from brightedge.com. So I'll just read you this. So Schema used to be treated like a technical SEO nice to have, but now Google AI overviews are showing nearly half of tracked queries. It matters more than ever that search engines and AI systems can actually understand what your content means. Schema gives your content that machine readable context. Pretty much sums it up. Zoe, but for layman's terms for anyone new to marketing, what is a schema?
So schema is like code that's on your website that helps structure the content on your page. So you might have heard schema and structured data used like interchangeably. So structured data is like the umbrella, if you like. Any data that is structured falls under structured data. So that could be like data in a spreadsheet. And then schema is like the language that communicates how data is structured to Google. So Google understands it, Google crawlers understand it. So schema and structured data, think of them as the same thing, really. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Or think of it as like all schema is structured data, but not all structured data is schema, because structured data could refer to anything. Usually you use like a JSON format, but there are like other ways of doing it. We use like the JSON way of doing it. And what you basically do is highlight a part of your website, like for example, like the page, and you say specifically, this page is an article, or you say like this section is a heading, this section is a question, this section is the answer that answers that question. So you just tell crawlers without any ambiguity what something is, basically. So it's been long used for Google. I do think what the Bright Edge kind of pull out there was right. I think it used to be like a technical nice to have. I think it's very much more on people's radar these days. I think it's more on the radar as well because of AI. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Did I clear that up? Does that define schema all right, do you think, before I move on to the next bit about what it is?
Yeah, no, perfect.
Good. So, as I said, for Google, it could just what's the word I'm looking for? Unambiguously, yeah, that is words. It unambiguously defines what things are. Now, the reason why schema has had quite a bit of attention recently is because there's been lots of talk about it being this like AI tactic, which is a bit naughty, to be honest, because Google and schema, Google understands schema, and it like if you go and look at like Google developer like blogs and stuff, you'll find recommendations to use it, and you'll find like snippet examples as well. We'll get onto snippets after. AI doesn't understand schema in the same way. It doesn't really structure content for AI in the same way that it does for Google. So all schema is for AI crawlers is HTML. It's just extra words hidden on the website. Now, I don't think it's fair to say that that's not useful for AI, because at the end of the day, if you can get more information within the code, then AI crawlers can crawl that HTML that's within the schema and actually present what's in schema within its answers. That's been proven. But like it doesn't really help AI understand what a question is and what the answer is. That's just words on a page. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A question actually that's just cropped up. You're giving Google then and search engines, basically, you're telling them this is an article before are on the page, I suppose. This is going to be bad SEO, I guess, but could you tell the schema that this article, like, give it false information? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that been done before?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you could, but I think the problem is if what's in the code is like conflicting with what's on the page, that's not going to come across very well. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend doing anything like that. Like your schema wants to be like representative of what's on the page, really. And I mean, in theory, you shouldn't really have anything in schema that doesn't exist on the page already, but you can do that. I mean, it's a bit naughty. Like we've played around with this on our own website, and we created a page, we put nothing on in fact, we created a pretty bad user experience page, really bad. I think it's still ranking. And then I just haven't had time to update it. It's been like a year. But we created a really bad page and we only added data to Schema. So everything, all the content exists on the back of the page, if you like within the code of the page. It's not visible on the front. And that page actually went on to rank really well for its focus keywords, which is quite a good one, I guess. And I think it still ranks today, actually. I've not checked it for a while. I do need to update it. So yeah, we know for sure Schema matters. So yeah, it's very simple in what it does in some ways. You add it to your website in the code. So if you're on like WordPress or Shopify or something, you're going to be in the code editor, and then that's where you would add Schema. The easiest way to do it is to add it manually, but it's not the best way to do it. So you can just so let's say you've got like a product and you want to add the rating stars to Google. So Schema helps you get rich snippets and stuff on Google search results. So things like the rating stars or the reviews pulled out, like pros and cons is another one. There's quite a few. You could actually do that by just copying and pasting the code snippet into your HTML editor on the page you want the review stars to appear, and that probably will work. The only problem with that is you're then manually updating. Every time you get a new review.
Your new review, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's not very practical. But it is good to try that. If you've never ever done Schema before, just go and do that and play with it and see what happens. If you're e-commerce and you've got products reviews, I would say almost definitely you'll pull review stars into Google SERPs within a week, if not a day or two.
Yeah. Just going back to the reviews, Zoe. I remember we were adding these quite a while ago, and especially it was useful for websites that didn't necessarily collect reviews via Google recognized platforms like Trustpilot, reviews.io and things. And that worked well because they were obviously collating reviews elsewhere and we were putting them on. So that does work well. But I think for a lot of e-commerce now, it is recognized, especially with if you're using any. I think that I can put a link into this podcast, but Google gives a recommendation list of all the platforms that they see recognized. So I think does that make sense in terms of that would do that for you instead of having to add the code?
Yeah, exactly. So what you want to be doing is finding ways to do it automatically. So coding a page in a way that it pulls things into Schema automatically. If it's product, for example, the product title is automatically pulled into the Schema, or the ratings, if they're collected through an app on Shopify or something, you might be able to put it in automatically. So it just happens, but you would need developer input into that. But that's definitely the way you want to be doing it without any doubt. Lots of plugins can help you do it. WordPress especially has got loads. Yoast will help you add basic schema, article, author, that type of thing. And then you can get really creative with it. And this is where Schema gets overwhelming. So if it were me starting with Schema, I'd start quite basic. Go and start with your page schema, articles and that type of thing. FAQs maybe, which will be fairly automated through things like Yoast. And then I think the reason why Schema feels so overwhelming is because it's massive. If you go and visit something like schema.org, you can see basically every type of schema that exists. Yeah, so there's 450 billion schema.org objects. So that's how much potential there is.
I was not even thinking that. I was somebody says 400. I was okay, it's not bad. 450 billion. Wow.
Yeah, there's so many. And you can create a real web with it. And I'm going to talk about some of the schema that we use in a minute, but let's start with organization schema, for example. If you go to schema.org and type organization into the search bar, that will give you the schema type, which is organization. Then underneath there, you've got a table, and there's I'm not even sure how many things there are. There's hundreds, I would say, of properties that all are suitable to use within organization schema. So types like organization have relationships to properties, and you can always add a property underneath an organization. Unfortunately, I can't think of an example to show where it doesn't work, but Stuart would be able to do that. He's not here, unfortunately, to ask. But as an example, when you're talking about your organization and schema, you're going to define certain things about your organization, like the address, maybe your overall ratings on Google Business Profile or Trustpilot, whatever you're using. You can define the areas you serve. You can define your contact details. The list goes on and on. But ultimately, let's take, for example, SEO and organization schema and like the area served. So like there's reason to believe that defining like where you serve people could help with your local SEO, because you're saying to Google very specifically through schema, through this organization, we offer this service and we serve, I don't know, Shropshire or England or, you know, the US and England, whatever it is. You can define it all in the code.
So is there we've talked about automation and things, so Yoast can do this and plugins. I mean, given, I'm just looking at now on schema.org/organization, I'm just looking at all of those different types of properties that you can add. Does these plugins do this, all of these properties, or if you're wanting to get really granular, you've got to do it manually?
Yeah, exactly that. So start with the plugins, get the basics on there. And then, yeah, if you wanted to really be a bit more custom with it, you're going to need to kind of create something yourself, which probably means working with a developer to do it.
Is there a tool that helps you create the schema that you can give to a developer to add manually, or is AI any good to do it? Like, how would you go about it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, there are tools where you can go in, like, I haven't used them because we've got Stu, I'm a little bit spoiled and that he just kind of does it. But there are tools. So for example, I remember the most recent thing I've used is like I wanted to create some video schema. So I just searched like video schema generator or something and use that. But these days, what I would do is I would go to AI, I'd go to the AI and I would ask what properties, I want to create this schema, what properties can I add underneath it? And it will tell you. And then I would say, can you create the code? And then I would give that code to Stuart and say, this is what I want to do. And he would check it and stuff. To be fair, I've not done that for a while with the AI, just because we've kind of done our schema sprints with our clients. Last time I did it, the AI was like, so you can create schema that's valid, so schema that technically is correct, but that is meaningless. So it has to make sense to Google, like to work. So AI can do that sometimes. It can create schema that is like technically correct, but doesn't really do anything to Google. So that's where you need to get someone to review any AI output. My feeling is with stuff like Claude Code, it probably is better now already. It's not been that long since I've used it, 6 months, but things have moved so quickly in AI. I wouldn't like to say for sure. But yeah, do get someone to review it for sure. And that's just smart with AI anyway. We always say things like that.
Schema.org has a validator, doesn't it?
Yes, that's a really good tool to use. So every time you create schema, you can go to, it's a validator. Let me get it. Validator.schema.org. And then you can just copy and paste your code in there and it'll tell you whether or not the code's valid. It's very clear. If it's not valid, because it will say error by it. What's quite cool about Validator as well is if you go and find let's say like a competitor's doing really well in search engines and you've got similar products, you can take that competitor's URL, paste it into Schema Validator, and then it will pull the schema off their website. So you can actually be like, well, they're doing all this, we should do it as well. So it's really good. Yeah. But just remember though, that you can create schema that's valid, and even the validator will say it's valid and fine, but actually it can be meaningless. So you've got to be careful about that.
If for anyone listening then right now, let's talk a lead generation website. What would be the baseline schema that you would recommend implementing?
So we would certainly implement organization. That is normally like the first thing we do, to be honest. That, in fact, we're going to be doing a run with this new client that we've got because they've got no schema or very little schema. So we always do organization schema first. One daily, I'm going to, as you know, make these podcasts into blogs with resources. So I've got resources that we can give away, and I promise I will do it one day. But just in the process of a website redesign, as soon as that's done, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to go through some of the things we add to organization schema as standard. And the reason why we start here is because these are applicable to pretty much every business. And then we customize what we add in addition to this. So we always have business name, like alternative names, website URL, always social links. And I think this is really helpful because you can use like same as schema, which is actually like one of my favorite properties. It's just so useful. So we would say like, we're Frank, we are the same as Frank at Instagram, facebook.com/Frank, whatever. So you just like tie in together all of your entities. You might even put your Google business profile in there. You might put your Wikipedia page in there. Any like entity that's associated with your organization, you want to be doing that. We do like telephone number of employees. Like this type of information is newish to us. I say newish in the last couple of years, but we added that when EAT become more of a thing in like December 22. We started to add more of this to Schema because we are really wanting to show like there's real people behind it, who they are, what their experience is. And I mean, some industries, like industries where your team knowledge base is real, like lawyers, for example. I don't know, if you've got years of experience in your industry and now you're the founder of this company, like that wants to go in there. Sometimes we put email address in, founding date, founding location, current location. We link the logo, that's pretty standard anyway. Founder detail, so we'd go into detail about the founder, so what they know about any of their like not personal but professional social media platforms, like their personal, professional LinkedIn, that kind of thing. And then any details about anything, like if they studied something related at university, if their previous work history was particularly important, we would do that. Like we worked for a finance company once who was like he'd set up on his own, but his previous experience was like in like major banks, so we included his history. All that type of stuff. And then we would add separate employee profiles, especially if they're authors on the website. So that's for the EEAT. We love that. I think that's really important.
We've just been doing that with EMP, who we work with getting the founder, Danny. He's now got a profile. We've linked to articles. We've done the person profile schema for him, and it's got like how he's founded. We've linked to like other articles, podcasts that he's been on, and all of this kind of stuff, just to show that authority.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want to be doing. This person schema, you don't necessarily want to do for like every team member, but anyone who brings significant like a wealth of experience, then you want to be adding them. We know for a fact that schema, like this person's schema, is powerful. There's been like 2 occasions where, like one for myself, one for a client, where I added person schema, and within days a knowledge panel for that person appeared. So yeah, definitely it works for that. So like your knowledge panel is like if you search like, I don't know, a famous person's name or someone like a public figure, their knowledge panel appears on the right, schema influences that. Absolutely no doubt about that. Those are the 2 main ones. So yeah, organization, employees, and author, we would definitely add those. And then obviously product, service, we would add those depending on whether we're doing product or services, and the list of what else we would add to those schema types goes on and on. But yeah, if you want to know where to start organization, person, and get those done, post with the basics, and then see how you feel. And yeah, like if you want to go deeper with it. Yeah, any questions on that?
Yeah, one of the things as well is obviously you can do this for like the blogs and articles and things and news.
Yeah.
What would you define as the difference? Because between those 3, are they news, are they blog, are they article? Like, where would you use them? That's what I was always kind of querying. If we've written this kind of a guide, for instance, on a website, would that be an article versus a blog?
That's a good question, and I wish Joe was here to answer that. So news, news would be an actual news site.
Actual news article.
So that's easy. Like, so yeah, not your brand news, like actual, like maybe like industry news or the news. Blog and article. We always use article.
Yeah.
And I'm now questioning, I don't know about blog. We don't really use it.
Article feels a bit more, for me at least, a bit more like more of a leadership piece versus a blog. Like blog feels for me very much like me personally writing a blog, like a diary online. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're really similar, to be honest. I'm just looking at the definition. Could probably use either, to be honest. Article does look more newsy, actually. See also blog posts. They're very similar. To be honest, I don't know how Stuart makes the decision on that, and I've never thought to ask him, so I can't answer it in this podcast.
We can answer it afterwards in the notes.
That sounds good to me.
So just to reiterate then, Zoe, tools that you use for this then. So you've got schema.org, which is where you can find all the official library of schema type.
Yeah, really good.
Schema markup validator. So you mentioned a really good point of like even being able to put in a URL of a competitor to see what they're doing, but also using it to validate your schema, especially if you're, I guess, using AI as well, just to check it over.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd recommend? Or those are two?
Those are probably the main two. Google Rich Results is also good. So that if you use Google Rich Results, it will tell you a bit more about your schema. So sometimes it will tell you where validator will just validate it and say probably that it's right, so it's technically correct, like the code is correct. Google Rich Results might tell you where it's not going to generate like a review star, for example, or I don't know, pull things into the SERPs. And so it can be useful if you are trying to get rich results, which are like the additional information in Google SERPs. I will use also Google Rich Results Test. Google Search Console will monitor errors for you as well. So most people have, like, if you've got breadcrumbs on the website, that like, any scheme you had will exist on the left panel of your Google Search Console. And if there's errors in there, that's where you'll find them. So Google Search Console can tell you. Those are probably the main ones. There's crawling tools, can crawl schema. You can like crawl competitor schema or your own schema with Screaming Frog, and it pulls out where there's errors as well. You have to like turn it on in the crawl configuration, but it's possible. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. I think that pretty much covers it without, waffling for no reason.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll add these to the podcast description notes. And I was going to have a question. I think, like you said, I think people find schema really overwhelming. I think mainly because people hear like code. It has to be the code of the website. We need a developer and all this. But aside from that, how often does schema need to be updated? Like, is it an ongoing thing or is it like a once and done thing?
I think a lot of it's one and done. So let's say like your organization schema, that's not really going to change much. Who your managing director is not going to change, even annually, is it? That's going to be preset for the whole time. So lots of schema won't change. Lots of schema will. So like if it's like product and like it's like sometimes you can have like your stock, whether something's in and out of stock, price changes, reviews obviously come in, regularly, hopefully. In that case, your schema needs to be updating, but it should be updating automatically. So you shouldn't really have to worry about it. So I would say like 80 to 90%, probably like 95% of schema is like a one and done. Once it's in place, you're done, unless of course you want to like go deeper on it. But yeah, you need it to be accurate. So you need to just keep a careful eye on it and solve any problems if they come up. But yeah, it's pretty much one and done.
Amazing. And then my last question, have you done any really niche schema?
Ooh. I mean,
like out of the box.
Yeah, probably like when we did that page, we we hammered the schema, absolutely hammered it with stuff we wouldn't put it on a client. We wouldn't even put it on a client site, but that was a bit of an experiment, I suppose. We just put loads of content in the schema.
If I remember rightly, that page had no content on it.
No, I think it had literally one sentence, like visible. Probably like a H1 and one sentence, and then like our normal footer. That's it.
Have a look.
It's never got an inquiry.
No, because there's nothing. I remember there's nothing on the page.
Nah, it's not really there anymore.
Oh, it was like ranking number 1.
Well, I can't remember what I can't remember. Oh, it is there. It is there. It is. It is for the longer tail keywords. Yeah, we're ranked 2. I'll tell you what the word count is. There's a very small paragraph. The total word count, including like the form, is, let's have a look, 95 words. And that includes like every word on the page, like the form, the footer, everything. But in the schema, there'll probably be like 500 words because that's where we probably more than that because that's where we put it all. It is interesting, isn't it? But like, you don't do that, obviously. But I mean,
shows the power of it, though, doesn't it?
It is powerful, yeah, for Google, 100%. And I mean, to be fair, like ChatGPT could pull information about that website that's in the code, but not on the front of the website. So if someone's like searched for something linked to that, we could still be recommended even though there's no content on our website because the schema is in the HTML and the AI crawlers crawl HTML. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. That's probably the most like off the wall thing done with it, I guess. But I think getting the knowledge panels was cool as well. I felt really proud of that when I got that.
It is. Like I said, we're trying to get one for Danny at the moment, which is great because no one else has done it in the industry. And it's such a niche industry as well. Like, looking forward to seeing that because he's just got such a wealth of knowledge and people come to him actually because it's him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is really great if we can get that.
I feel like he should be able to get that, to be honest.
We'll see. It's one of those things that you just got to keep searching, haven't you? Just to see if it appears.
Yes, kind of see if it takes off or not. Yeah, that's all you can do, really.
Amazing. Well, this has been a nice and short podcast.
Yeah, in a good way, I think.
Informative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Next time, the next podcast, we're going to be actually talking about how myself and Zoe work together and how we work with SEO and PPC and what our favorite kind of tactics are, which is going to be a fun episode. I think it's going to really show some insight into why marketing shouldn't be really siloed, what we do to combat each other, what we do to help with resources as well. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. But if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the Frank Marketing Podcast on any good streaming platform and follow us on LinkedIn to carry on the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Frank Marketing Podcast. We'll be releasing a new episode every month, so don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.